Perhaps I usually used to make distinction. Religion, for example, Tibet case, Buddhism and Buddhist culture, two things. I think India also, I think Indian culture and Hinduism. And West, I think Judo-Christian culture and Judo-Christian faith. So culture mainly related with the community. Religion related with individual. So one example, Tibetan culture, Buddhist culture. But among Tibetan community, there are Muslims, some Christians, some non-believers. Okay. So like India, I think overall, the over billion population, their way of life, according to Indian culture. But among them, there are Christians, Muslims, Jains, and many different sort of religions, sort of faith, follower, and also Buddhist. So now Tibetan culture, I usually used to describe Tibetan Buddhist culture, actually part of Indian culture. So culture of non-violence. So automatically culture of peace. And culture of non-violence and peace ultimately related with culture of compassion. I think Indian, I always describe ancient Indians, our guru, we are Chela. Everything which we kept come from India. So, however, you see, Chela, I think, kept real meaning of ahimsa, that's compassion. India, our Guruji, sometimes you say, not much pay attention, sufficient attention about karuna. If the essence of Indian culture, karuna, kept not only in the temples or these things, but the society as a whole, I think India, no room corruptions and huge gap rich and poor. So in any way, Tibetan culture, mainly I feel culture of compassion. So now culture of compassion, when we properly sort of explain that, very much related with secular ethics. Whether believe something or not, up to individual. But so long we are a human being, so long we are a member of the social animal, compassion, sense of concern of others' well-being is the key factor to build healthy society, healthy community. Just education alone, education with self-centered sort of attitude, sometimes education create more trouble. So we have this sort of brain, marvelous brain, education, very important, very useful. This education, this knowledge must combine with warm-heartedness. That also, since we are a social animal, and everybody is come from our mother, everybody grown up, at least the initial sort of our life, the 3-4 years, you see, mother's care, including mother's milk. That way we grown up. So affection from other, particularly from mother, I think that experience really absorbed in our blood. So person, firstly, surrounded by more compassionate sort of community, much happier. More compassion brings trust. Trust brings friendship. Friendship is the ultimate source of happy life. So then oneself also, more compassionate mind, your physical condition much healthier. Constant fear, constant anger, jealousy, these very harmful for our health. Some scientists say, you see, constant fear, hatred, anger is actually eating our immune system. So whether believer or non-believer, it doesn't matter. So long we are a human being. So human being is the social animal. So the key factor for build happy society, happy community, finally happy humanity, very much related with karuna, sense of concern of others' well-being. Okay. So please think. This is more sort of more seriously about these things. Then, as far as Buddhism is concerned, historically, Pali tradition and Sanskrit tradition. Pali tradition is the foundation of Buddha Dharma. And then Sanskrit tradition is on the basis of Pali tradition, then further sort of elaboration about Four Noble Truths or moksha, these things. So generally speaking, a Pali tradition relying on Buddha's word. Sanskrit tradition relying on investigation. So that Buddha himself used it to express or told his sort of disciple, "Oh, my follower should not accept my teaching out of faith, out of devotion, but rather thorough investigation and experiment." So therefore, like Nagarjuna, you see, they are writing. You see, even some kind of rejections, Buddha's own word, some word, or we cannot accept this, literally. Buddha mentioned this for a certain purpose. If we accept this, literally, it go against reasons. So we must reject. So that's the Nalanda Sanskrit tradition. Again, you see, this does not mean Bali tradition and Nalanda Sanskrit tradition is something separate. No. Like our Vinaya practice, all these exactly same Pali tradition and Sanskrit tradition. And then, on top of that, philosophical views, then a lot of the reasons. So therefore, like Dignac and Dharmakirti, they especially, you see, they wrote for logics, like that. As far as Buddhist logic is concerned, Chinese tradition, I think last 1,000 years, not much pay attention about Buddhist logic. So for example, the Dignac's very important text, and also Dharmakirti's text, even is not translated. The other sort of texts, the Nagarjuna's text, and also the Chandakirti and some the Kasachut, Arya Asanga, Bosuband, you see, they are sort of teaching, many of them translated into Chinese. And of course, Buddha's own word, going to like that. But this Buddhist logic, so therefore, I think Buddhist logic according to Nalanda Sanskrit tradition, I think available only among Tibetan tradition. So, I think early 19th century, one Russian translated Dharmakirti's work, Parmanavatika Karika, into Russian. Perhaps I think that's the passage the Namdes Zawajura. Timothy Ayu.
So perhaps Cherbatsky's translation might have been the only translation of Buddhist logic, technical Buddhist logic, in some foreign language, Western language.
Like that. So that I want to share with you. So those people who believe there's a Buddhist teaching and want to be Buddhist, good, follow Buddhism seriously, sincerely. Sometimes religious faith also become additional fuel for concept of we and they. The faith also, you see, helping for further strengthening about biased view. Right? It is terrible. I think, except the Ukrainian problem, that's the national way, like that. That's a political matter. But Iraq, Syria, now in some African countries, the violence between Christian and Muslim, and within Muslim, Shia, Sunni. Such case, religious faith, helping to promote destructive emotion on the basis of strong concept of we and they, because of too much biased, right? Like that. And also, I think, instead of emphasis, practice of love, Muslim also, Islam, Christianity, Judaism, and all major religions, all, you see, because of emphasis, the importance of love. Among the audience, anyone who, one because Egyptians too. So, traditionally, you say, the Muslim background. You Christian? Non-believer? Non-believer? Well, that's good. That's more neutral. That's the opportunity to investigate. Even I think a strong Buddhist because of follower, we think, only Buddhism. And never see some good points of other religion. So in any way, so even, Islam. I have many sort of friends, a Muslim. You see, the real sort of the teaching of Quran is actually the love. So some Muslim told me, genuine Islam practitioner must extend love towards entire creature of Allah. Same. And then the meaning, jihad, combat with your own destructive emotion and harmful action. That's the meaning of jihad. One Muslim in India told me that. Then later in New York, when I met one Muslim professor, I tried to, so confirmation about that. You see, it become, because it confirmed. So then jihad, we Buddhists also, day and night, we practice jihad, combat our own destructive emotion. So, every religion, you see, practice jihad. But nowadays, the jihad means killing other people. Some Muslim, you see, I don't know. These people, I think, actually not a genuine Islam practitioner due to lack of knowledge and lack of knowledge of their own religious real message. Clear? So now some questions. Okay. Okay. I think yes, okay. Five questions. Okay.
Your Holiness, I want to ask you one question about the Karmapa problem. I have heard there's one Karmapa in Tibet as well, also in Delhi right now, and I want to ask you why it is not getting a peaceful solution for these problems that everybody can peace and happiness. Maybe you get some help from outside with diplomat people or other people who can integrate in this problem. I don't know, because many people have problems with this condition. To teach it.
Yes. Right from the beginning, when Ujjain Topjala still inside Tibet, you see some problems, it happened. And actually, I think mainly due to some sort of difficult relation among 5 disciples of late Karmapa Rinpoche, Shama Rinpoche, Siddhu Rinpoche, and then Chugud Khasa Shanungati, Gongdru Rinpoche, then Gyaltsab Rinpoche, and then Tokwa Rinpoche. So one time I told them, you 5 people, almost like the brothers of same father. So even you cannot sort of helping each other. Please don't harm each other. But then, eventually, Lama politics developed. It is not new. In the past, in Tibet also, Lama politics. Nowadays, in Ladakh also, Lama politics there. These also, you see, the people not seriously, sincerely practice. Just carry name. So this, no, I cannot do much. I done my level, I done my best.
Next question.
Yes, Indian Guruji. Five questions. Park District. Group Park District. Yes.
Guruji, can you explain your experiments with Karuna, which you have explained now? Something that is very particular, that we can translate it to, that how Karuna helps somebody.
Oh. Firstly, I think India, basically, overall, very, very religious-minded people. Sometimes I jokingly expressing in Delhi or some other places, every family, I think every morning, some pujas in front of the Shiva Lingam or Ganesh or Saraswati. But it seems to see they pray to God, please bless me, my corrupted life be successful. How can? One time I met some Cuban refugee who settled in America. I met this one family, very, very devoted Catholic, very religious minded. And he told me he prayed to God, the Fidel Castro bring to heaven sooner the better. It is quite so. So those Indian religious minded people, I think, should pray to God. These corrupted people should bring to heaven sooner the better. So this is quite unfortunate. Some other country, a non-believer, you see, corruptions, these, understandable. Only think money or power. India, as I mentioned earlier, religious-minded nation. I think amongst Egyptian civilization and Indus Valley civilization, Chinese civilization, I think Indus Valley civilization, I think most sophisticated philosophy, I think, developed within that sort of civilization. Although Egyptian, also quite sophisticated. But compare, I think the Indus Valley sort of civilization, as I mentioned earlier, this Nalanda, and also many non-Buddhist sort of great philosophers. So then this country, see, a lot of sort of corruptions, that really shows big contradiction. Religious-minded nation. So this is because people, Indian people, I think when you think about religion, it's some pujas, some rituals, and some colors put here. So you see, not much pay attention about real teaching and teaching based on different philosophies. That I think India, I think a little bit neglected. So I always is telling, India is such now today India is the only country where all major world religions live together. Now Indian should pay more attention about this philosophical part. Not religious puja and this, okay. But more important is use intelligence, not just the faith. Without using intelligence, then faith becomes blind faith. Blind faith is dangerous and not much helpful. So with blind faith, how can develop seriousness, right, and sincerity? Once we saw the reasons, then we develop seriousness and sincerity, right? So therefore, when we passing through, you see, from one town on one to another town, on the road, we can see many shrines, many shrines. I usually express some my friend, instead of these shrines, better some small library, right? More books rather than statues, more books. Then also, I think in secular education field, India, secularism, even your constitution based on secularism, it is very unique and very important. So secular ethics, this country is easily understandable. But in Europe, you see, secular, often you see consider secular and atheism, secularism and atheism some way closer. according to Indian understanding, no. Atheism means anti-God. Secularism respects all religions, including non-believer. So India, I think, can show rest of the world through education. I mean, in secular education field, you can educate secular secular values or secular ethics as a part of secular education. Through that way, I think we can expect, you see, genuine, positive transformation. Clear? Good word, correct?
No, compassion.
Oh. So, the essence or basis of secularism is karuna. Karuna, as I mentioned earlier, you see, for our individual health, for healthy family, for healthy society, healthy nation, karuna is key factor. Not talking about heaven or hell. So then, even dogs very much appreciate karuna. And among dogs or cats themselves also, the individual cats or individual dogs who have some sort of karuna active in their emotion, much happier than dogs. You see, they much anger and they put their singche.
The hair at the, above the head stands on end.
Oh, and barking. Oh, not necessarily happy. Always some kind of anxiety. Like that. So, karuna, without faith, very possible. Some Christian believe, of course, very nice, very beautiful, but you see, they believe karuna or compassion or love comes only through prayer to God. Of course, I respect, I admire Christianity. Wonderful. Many good people there. Wonderful. But when you see he explained that, I felt immediately, dogs also have some karuna, but no faith to God. Like that. So, last question.
Thank you. His Holiness, one question. Could you please give a message to the women for the 21st century, please?
Okay.
How to improve the world?
I usually, since many years, you see, telling the concept of leadership, say, million years ago, no concept of leadership. The Marxists say original communism. You see, no concept of leadership. Everybody equal, work together, and whatever they get, share together. Then population increased, and farming system developed. As a result, the concept of mind increased. Individualism, I think eventually, you see, becomes stronger. And then some mischievous activities also then increase. So then the concept of leadership come, who supposed to judge, justice and injustice on these things. So at that time, no education. So no rule of education. So in order to become leadership, only physical strength, like animal, So I think except the elephant, otherwise you see the male become dominance of the herds or the group. So we human being also, no education, no rule of education, so physical strength is a main sort of, because of the condition, become leadership. So, so male dominance comes. Then gradually education develop. Education brings more equal, female and male. I think because Israeli Golda Meir, wonderful, very powerful leader, and England, Mrs. Thatcher, also you see, very, very powerful. And in India, the Indira Gandhi ji, very close friend of mine. You see. So, few exceptions. Otherwise, most of the leaders still male. Now time come. As I mentioned earlier, existing education not sufficient, because existing education very much sort of oriented about material value. Existing education not much talk about moral ethics. Moral ethics usually you see related with religious faith. So therefore, now in education, we should include, as I mentioned earlier, you see, secular ethics. That is a sense of respect, sense of concern of others' well-being. So now time comes, we must promote human love, human compassion. For that respect, female biologically more sensitive about others' pain. That also some scientists, you see, experimented. So they found the female biologically more sensitive about others' pain. So therefore, at a time when we really need special effort for promotion of human love, human compassion, now female should take more active role. Clear? So if I think because of the if you guess, I think the world leaders, majority leaders, I think take by female, perhaps world become I think more less sort of violence. I feel that. So that's the female's rule. And then individual case is a female, a mother, female. So should provide maximum affection to their children. That's very, very important. Okay. Thank you. So then I think I usually is telling Tibetan issue, not just a political matter. Tibetan issue is very much concerned, or I think Tibetan issue, three aspects. One aspect, ecology, global warming. One Chinese ecologist, I saw one article wrote by one Chinese ecologist. He expressed in his article effect from Tibetan plateau to global warming as much as South Pole and North Pole. So he described Tibetan plateau as third pole. So then obviously the rivers which cover whole Asia from China up to Pakistan, those major rivers the ultimate source come from Tibet, Tibetan plateau. So these rivers, I think at least over billion populations, life depend on these rivers. Sometimes now in Kashmir, you see, and also Bihar and some other area, you see too much. I mean, those rivers also create a lot of problem. But without water, we can't live. Flood, there is possibility to escape. No water, then we will die. So I think these rivers, I think over billion population, human beings, their life depend on these rivers. So therefore, the preservation of Tibetan ecology is something very, very important. That's one aspect of Tibetan issue. Second aspect, Tibetan culture, as I mentioned before, culture of peace, culture of compassion. It's really worthwhile to preserve. Particularly the over billion Chinese population also is in need culture of compassion, culture of love, culture of non-violence. It's very much relevant. And then as far as Buddhism is concerned, as I mentioned earlier, on this planet, among the Buddhist country, I think Tibet is the only nation who kept a Nalanda tradition intact way. So, Buddhism, like any other religion, one of the world religion, is worthwhile to preserve. So therefore, that's second aspect, preservation of Tibetan culture, including rich Nalanda tradition of Buddhism, we very much has kept alive. Then, third aspect, the good relation between India and China is very essential. Combine these two nations, over 2.5 billion population, and very, very important. So most two populated sort of nations, India and China. So there are good relation based on mutual trust. It's very, very essential. So for that reason, so long Tibet problem remained there, and then Chinese government compelled to put large number of soldier, army, have to station. Once that automatically, you see, develop some sort of suspicion among Indian also the leaders, particularly the army people. I have a lot of friends among Indian army people like that. So therefore, you see, once Tibet issue settled, then Chinese can reduce large number of Chinese soldiers. That automatically, you see, develop more ease way. Yeah. And both sides withdraw large number of troops on difficult area that economically also very, very expensive. Clear. So Tibet issue in that aspect also some direct relevant. So Tibet issue. So therefore, I now completely retired from political responsibility. Since 2001, semi-retired position. Now 2011, now completely retired. But Tibet issue, these aspects, I still say, I feel these are moral issue. So as a Buddhist monk, still, you say, I take care about these things. So you, as a friend of Tibet, and also have some interest about Tibetan culture, Tibetan Buddhism, please keep in your mind, you see, these points. So whenever you see you have opportunity, share, you see, the understanding about the reality of Tibetan problem. Okay. not only just a human right violation, but or political sort of problems, but these are real sort of issue. So I want to share with you. Thank you very much.